the details.
Recording it. Well, Diddy was recording it because he thought he was about to beat the case. So he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tactics. Well, there's a guy named Neil who was mentioned in the court, works right up under Diddy, was organizing everything. Allegedly, they are saying that he is on video, film, tampering with witnesses, giving out addresses, offering money, bribing, we'll pay for your lawyers, all kind of shit that could be counted as witness tampering, obstruction of justice. And 50 of all people has his hands on this footage. And I'm hearing that this could implicate Diddy's lawyers in some bullshit. They could be charged. This shit is getting wild. And I'm hearing that this 50 Cent documentary is just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
This guy in this video said one specific name, and it was Neil, and it automatically made me think of Neil Dominique. Everything that we just covered the other day that came out from Diddy's former chef, Jordan, who was going to be a witness testifying against Diddy in the criminal trial. You remember, she just took to her Instagram calling out Neil Dominique, saying that he was basically the one to give Diddy information that she was testifying to the grand jury. She has been claiming for a while, when she testified to this grand jury on April 2nd of 2024, just 2 weeks later, Diddy's attorney would text her saying, "Dear Chef Jordan, this is Aaron Dyer. I'm Sean Combs' attorney. I left you a voicemail last week, but wanted to follow up. I have been told you have been contacted by law enforcement and might want an attorney to represent you." So that man in this video was basically saying that 50 Cent has video footage of Diddy talking to these people and setting this up to go after.
If we are going to navigate the treacherous underbelly of the music industry, we have to find someone willing to work in the mud. Someone who has survived the dirtiest of dirty business and lived to tell the tale. For decades, the industry has whispered about the power dynamics, the silence, and the fear, but now the walls are crumbling. We are witnessing a slow-motion car crash of a legacy, and at the wheel of the demolition vehicle is none other than 50 Cent. The narrative that Diddy's career is hanging by a thread is an understatement. After 50 Cent unleashed those prison tapes, the internet didn't just talk. It exploded. But that was merely the opening salvo. Everyone has been desperate to know what else 50 has tucked away in his arsenal.
Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark. Does Mark feel betrayed by Diddy?
I've not talked to Mark about it.
What do you think?
Would feel.
What do you think?
I will tell you, I'll just tell you, if it was me, I would be more than a little upset. I was more than a little upset when the client didn't know and I was being recorded. I mean, there was a while there where I was meeting clients under bridges, freeway bridges, because I was PTSD over it. So I think, as a lawyer, it is one of the most inviolate oaths that you take to protect the client confidentiality and the client privilege. So I don't know, I haven't talked to Mark, but if I were Mark, I would be out of my head.
When he finally sat down to discuss his upcoming Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, he made one thing terrifyingly clear. What we have seen so far is child's play compared to the storm that is coming. There is a palpable sense of dread circulating among the elite circles that used to protect Diddy, largely because 50 Cent has confirmed that he is holding on to an archive of destruction. When asked if there was material he hadn't shown yet, his answer was a chilling confirmation of everyone's worst fears. He noted that everything couldn't make the final cut because the series was limited to 4 episodes, meaning there is a surplus of incriminating footage left on the cutting room floor. He spoke about Diddy's predilection for dating people connected to his rivals, specifically mentioning a woman who had a child and had previously dated Tupac.
She testified to, I do want to give you a warning that she does talk about violence and abuse.
Started off with Dawn testifying that she was working with Diddy from 2004 until 2011. She opens up about an incident she witnessed in 2009 when she went to Diddy's home in order to record. She said her and Cassie were downstairs when they heard Diddy yelling and coming down saying, "Where the F are my eggs?" She said Diddy grabbed the skillet full of eggs and tried to hit Cassie on the head, and she went down in a fetal position. He was punching and kicking Cassie before he put his arm around her neck. Diddy then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her up the stairs, and she was in shock. She said she was so in shock she did not intervene, nor did she call the police. Next day, she said Diddy locked her and another person in the recording studio and threatened them. In her own words, he said what we saw was what lovers in passionate relationships do. He said Cassie was okay and it would be in our best interest if we didn't say anything. He claims that Diddy then said he was trying to get them to the top of the industry before threatening them by saying where he comes from, people go missing if they talk. Then after all of that, he got them flowers. Prosecutor then asked, "How did you understand that?" And she said, "Death." Diddy's attorney yelled objection, and then they had a sidebar. That's when attorneys from both sides will come up to the judge and whisper.
But the real threat wasn't about what made it into the Netflix series. It was about what didn't. 50 Cent casually dropped the nuclear option. He's willing to put the leftover footage on YouTube. This is 50 Cent operating without a filter, hinting that he will bypass traditional media gatekeepers to ensure the world sees every single second of the 140 hours of footage he possesses. Perhaps the most damaging bombshell to hit the internet since this interview surfaced is the exposure of Diddy's alleged attempts to intimidate and influence jurors. This isn't just gossip. This is about the integrity of the judicial system. Diddy was reportedly recording everything because, in his arrogance, he thought he was going to beat the case and wanted to produce his own Netflix documentary about his triumph. He wanted to document the victory lap before the race was even finished. But he made a fatal error. He didn't pay the guy filming it. That videographer, scorned and unpaid, reportedly handed over all 140 hours of secret Diddy tactics to 50 Cent. Now, 50 has footage that allegedly features a man named Neil, who works directly under Diddy, organizing witness tampering campaigns. We are talking about video evidence of people giving out addresses, offering money, promising to pay for lawyers, and engaging in obstruction of justice. The implications here are catastrophic. This footage doesn't just implicate Diddy. It potentially drags his entire legal team into the mud. If Diddy's lawyers were aware of or complicit in these bribery and intimidation tactics, they could be facing charges themselves. This is the tip of the iceberg that 50 Cent is alluding to. The specific mention of Neil in the video immediately brings to mind Neil Dominique, a name that has surfaced in recent testimonies. Chef Jordan, Diddy's former personal chef who was set to testify against him, recently took to social media to call out Neil Dominique. She claimed he was the conduit, the one feeding Diddy information about her grand jury testimony. She asserted that mere weeks after she testified to the grand jury on April 2, 2024, she received text messages from Diddy's attorney, Aaron Dyer. The text was polite on the surface but chilling in context, stating he knew she had been contacted by law enforcement and offering representation. The connection is drawing a direct line between Diddy's camp and the witnesses, suggesting a coordinated effort to silence or control the narrative. And the wildest part? 50 Cent claims to have it all on tape. He even taunted the world online, confirming, "Yes, I have the footage, lol." The fear factor that once shielded Diddy is evaporating. 50 Cent's involvement has created a safe harbor for people who were previously terrified to speak. In the past, documentaries about Diddy struggled to get people on camera because the fear of retaliation was too high. But 50 Cent operates on a different frequency. He explicitly stated that he has no reserve and no fear of Diddy. He doesn't view Diddy as special or untouchable. Because of this fearless stance, people who refused to appear in earlier projects finally agreed to sit down for the reckoning. They trusted 50. They knew he wasn't going to be bullied into silence. 50 views this as just another project, dismissing the psychological hold Diddy had on the industry. He notes that while Diddy made it to a respectable position, he has been calling out this behavior for 20 years. For 50, this isn't new tea. It's a validation of a 2-decade-long warnings. One of the most riveting aspects of this saga is the footage from Diddy's final days of freedom. 50 Cent secured raw material showing Diddy before the arrest and indictment, capturing a man who perhaps knew the walls were closing in but was trying to maintain the facade. Watching that footage was described as an explosive, shocking experience. It peels back the curtain on the psyche of a man who has lived above the law for so long. 50 Cent believes that, ironically, Diddy might actually like the project because of its fairness and perspective, or he might be too consumed by his personal grievances with the individuals interviewed to see the big picture. 50 even went so far as to interview crucial figures separate from their spouses to ensure the stories matched up, cross-referencing accounts to build an irrefutable timeline of events. He noted the physical toll the stress has taken on Diddy, describing how his hair went from jet black to gray almost overnight, comparing his courtroom sketches to a raccoon. It's a harsh, unvarnished look at a fallen titan. However, amidst the noise of the documentary, there are voices claiming that key pieces of history are still being omitted. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has been vocal about the exclusion of the death of Anthony Wolf Jones. Wolf was Diddy's former bodyguard and a close confidant, and Gene insists that Diddy played a role in the events leading to Wolf's death, a narrative completely absent from the Netflix series. Gene Deal is challenging the history books, stating that the East Coast versus West Coast rivalry didn't start over Big Jake's murder as many claim. He insists that Wolf Jones refused to travel to Los Angeles without proper security support. Wolf had explicitly warned Puffy and Kirk Burroughs that he wasn't going anywhere unless they had 2 tour buses of his crew for protection. Wolf understood the danger. He knew the temperature on the streets. But, according to Gene Deal, the promise of safety was a mirage. The tragedy of Wolf Jones is not just a side story. It is a fundamental chapter in the book of bad boy records. Wolf ended up losing his life while protecting Puff, yet this sacrifice is rarely discussed in the mainstream narrative.